everybody. Happy Friday and welcome to Collider Movie Talk for movie fans. I'm your host, Sinead DeFries, and this is the daily show where we bring you the latest news from the world of movies, plus some insight into what it all means. Joining us this morning is your Collider Movie Talk crew. First up, senior producer Jon Campea.
Well, greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome to the best damn movie-related show on the planet Earth, coming to you from right here at the Collider Video Studios here in Burbank, California. You know what? I'm sorry. I'm perclept. I'm mad about something. Hold on a second. Let me tweet about what I'm mad about.
Oh.
Also here is writer-director Jon Schnepp.
I was just telling Kristian just literally a few seconds ago, you cannot hate a movie that you haven't seen. And then we're talking about a movie from 15 years ago or something like that. I don't know. It's up to him if he wants to talk about it. All right?
The hater himself, Kristian Harloff.
Thanks, Susan. You certainly can hate a movie that you've seen 15...
Can we put that in his lower third? The hater?
Yeah.
Just Kristian Harloff, the
I've
hater.
seen 15 minutes of this particular movie. Didn't like it. Shut it off. What is it? I'll say Blue Steel. How about that?
Ooh. Oh.
I'll say gas station. You got to see that scene.
Just got to see that scene. Okay, come on. Sorry.
All right. As many of you know, the new Fox film Fantastic Four opened in theaters nationwide last night, and the critic reviews have been less than stellar. Rotten Tomatoes currently has the film sitting at 10%, and our own Jon Campea and Kristian Harloff gave the film a negative review on yesterday's Movie Talk. However, on yesterday's show, Jon mentioned that he had sources that claimed Fox Studios significantly altered director Josh Trank's movie just prior to and during production of the film. Jon, what is going on with Fantastic Four?
It is crazy. Who would have ever thought we'd be talking about Fantastic Four this much?
Wow.
And this is just, the gasoline's just been thrown on the fire last night because, last night Josh Trank made the phenomenal mistake of taking to Twitter. And actually, I've got it here. He took to Twitter and Josh Trank tweeted this. Tweeted, a year ago, I had a fantastic, play on words, I don't know. A year ago, I had a fantastic version of this. And it would have received great reviews. You'll probably never see it. That's really tough. That was a monumentally stupid thing to do. When everybody's talking about to put out a tweet, it's like, yes, no, I'm gonna not do that right now. I mean, that's when your more sensible parts of your brain need to kick in. Okay, that being said, this brings up a larger issue within this one specific issue. And, we often talk about on this show about studios that interfere with filmmakers, and should they interfere with filmmakers, and how much is it okay to interfere with filmmakers? And if you've watched this show for any period of time, you know generally my position on this. A movie belongs to the studio. It doesn't belong to the director. And I also often say that at the end of the day, the person most responsible for a film is the person sitting in that director's chair. That's the thing. Like if Kristian is an interior designer, and I'm the guy who owns the house, and I'm hiring him to do some interior design, I want to sit down with them. Yeah, was that your next calling in life?
I was just going to say that you should have hired somebody else. Rocky posters everywhere.
Wait, what, this guy? Yeah. Anyway, so, I don't think any of us in here have any interior design taste. But, the idea is, he would then sit down with me, and I will tell him my vision for my house, because it's my house, and I'm paying for it. And if once we agree on that, then he should go in and make it. And that is always my stand on this. Sometimes discussions come up about Sam Raimi, about, the studio interfered with Spider-Man 3. The studio told them you got to have Venom. So make a good movie with Venom. Is that so hard? Okay, and that's often my position. However, this seems to be one of those situations that goes above and beyond these normal tropes that we talk about studios interfering, telling a filmmaker you got to do. This goes way past. Now, I've told you guys in the last couple of weeks, including yesterday, that I had a person that I knew, and I'm not into breaking scoops. I like talking about news stories that are out there. I don't like breaking stories. That's not my business. It's not what I do. That being said, I did at least mention, I just said, look, I've got a source who was fairly close to the production of this film, who had told me that the movie that Josh Trank and Fox had agreed on making included 3 really big action set pieces. That was all agreed upon. It was a part of the flow of the movie. And a movie is like a puzzle. You have all the pieces in place. You start messing with pieces, suddenly the whole puzzle can look out of whack. And they had agreed on this vision for a film and whatever. And then days before production began, Fox came in and made him pull 3 main action sequences out of the film. I was also told that the ending of the film was not even Josh Tranks. And at some point, all of us have heard the rumors and read the rumors that at some point they hijacked the editing bay from him to the point where the edit of the film was done and made without him. But, you know, I've often been told many things by certain sources that I say, hey guys, don't go to the bank with this because I don't even know if I trust this source. I was told this once, whatever. So I don't like running with things. However, yesterday, both Kristian and I spoke with another source. This is a second source that confirmed everything we had heard from my first source, that the studio had come in, taken out big set pieces, taken over the third act of the film, taken over the edit bay of the movie, and essentially put out a film that was not the film that they had originally sat down to make. Now, last night, after my robbery on the Schmodown, with some really weird rules. Anyway, I'll go into that another time.
It's Jeopardy.
I got one question wrong.
It was 10
anyway,
It was 9-7. Come on.
Anyway, I made some phone calls to some friends of mine, filmmakers who have done business with Fox, and I just ran some of the facts by them that I'd been hearing. I said, does this sound consistent with your experience with the Fox? And they said, you have no idea. And then they proceeded to tell me a lot more stuff. I feel confident enough. I'm the guy who always says, don't take this to the bank. I feel confident enough at this place that I've heard this from enough places, enough reputable places, to tell you this, that the film that we saw in Fantastic Four was not the film they were supposed to make. It was not the film that Josh Trank made. And this is an instance where I'm totally fine with the studio interfering because it's their movie. But just like the interior decorator thing, once we agree on what it should do, then let the interior decorator do his work once we've agreed on what it's supposed to be. If I said, you know what, I just want that chair over there instead of there, that's fine. Don't go in and say, no, instead of blue, I want brown. Instead of couches, I want beanbag chairs. Instead of this, I want this. Because at the end of the day, it's not even what he designed in the first place. At that point, a studio is going way beyond the line and crossing a lot of creative things. Look, you agreed on a movie. You had a vision together. Now let the filmmaker do his thing once you start the wheels in motion. This is an instance where Fox way overstepped their boundaries. And I'm not about to make Fox the big villain here. Fox has done a lot of really good things and a lot of really smart things. But I think this one isolated incident, you catch me on a bad day, you're going to catch me doing something stupid. We all do. We all have bad days. I think this is a Fox bad day. This is one situation where Fox is completely wrong. They butchered this movie. And this one time, I will say is their fault. And that's really unfortunate. Anyway, you guys have all been reading and hearing the stuff I've heard about too. Kristian, let's start with you. Your thoughts on this whole Fantastic Four fiasco.
Let's start with the tweet. I agree with you. Shouldn't have been tweeted out at all.
No, that was dumb.
No, it was not a smart move. And it was almost kind of similar to what I thought Joss Whedon did when all this stuff was going on. It's like, let it eventually, as it's now happening, it's coming out there, and it will eventually come out. Let other people fight your battles for you at this point, because just stay back, do your thing. I think that, and he deleted the tweet, so he probably knew, oops, maybe I shouldn't have sent that out there.
Yeah.
But let's start with the tweet, first of all, of the things that were in the tweet and whether or not I believe them. And the answer is yes, I do, because I go back to Wolverine Origins, and I go back to thinking about Gavin Hood, who did that movie and also did a movie called Satsi, which I really enjoyed. And I don't believe that would have been the version that we would have wanted to see if Gavin had been given a little more free reign. And I think that Fox maybe bullied him into it. And I think that might have been the case here with Josh Trank, because to me, when I look from everything that we heard with the problems on this set, I was expecting to go into this movie expecting a full-on disaster from start to finish. I didn't get that. I personally didn't feel that. I thought the beginning of the movie was strong. I thought it was choppy. I thought it was weird. Sometimes I thought that we're developing a scene and then it just kind of goes quick into the edit out of it. And I thought maybe that's kind of what you're talking about here.
Yeah.
And maybe Fox going in there thinking that they have a better edit to where you should let your director make his characters, develop his stories, because he did that well in Chronicle. So maybe that was the case. Then, from what you're saying with your original source here, I really believe that last act was changed completely, because it's a different movie. Almost going back to what you said with Straight Outta Compton, how you felt F. Gary Gray took off.
Took a siesta.
It certainly feels like Josh Trank has no presence in the movie at the end of it, because the movie, there were similarities to what I liked in Chronicle, minus the sloppy editing in the beginning. Mm-hmm. And they're completely gone by the third act. Now, that being said, I also don't want to just say that we don't know everything that happened behind the scenes. There's all those rumors about the house and the crazy stuff. Who knows what really happened there? Right. Anything could have happened. Fox has their side of the story. I'm sure Josh has his side of the story. but clearly something's going on, because the reason why he sent this tweet before the movie came out.
Yeah.
We don't even, it's still tracking like 45, 50 million, could do okay. He's basically apologizing for this movie. And what happened? It's not, Michael Bay wouldn't do that, because even if it made all this money, he would say, still made
He'd be
money.
like, F y'all, I'm swimming in my pool of money.
Yeah,
that's what he would have done.
This is clearly a guy who doesn't like the vision of this film. Even if it goes and makes $70 million this weekend, he still has said that. So he didn't, because if it makes a lot of money, then I wonder if someone from Fox is going, well, you know what? He said he didn't make it. And he probably still at this point would say, no, that's not my movie. The guy seems to be an artist, a vision, but I still think, shh.
Yeah,
don't talk anymore.
Don't speak. And you know the funny thing too is that the source that reached out to us yesterday, she mentioned several things too, several more things, really crazy things. But however, since I don't have a secondary source, because right now we're only talking about the stuff that I have confirmed by two separate sources. Since the stuff she told us yesterday, I can't confirm with secondary sources. We're not even going to talk about that. But what we have in front of us is just enough. Like, this is a mess. Anyway, Schnepp, you have perspectives on this. How do you see, as a filmmaker yourself too, how do you see all this?
Well, as a filmmaker, I think I saw the trancated version last night. It was definitely edited in a very horrible way, where scenes are introduced, characters are introduced, and then it goes nowhere. And I really enjoyed, we'll get into the spoilers later today.
Yeah, we're going to do spoilers for Fantastic Four later
I didn't
today.
hate the movie, though. I thought it was okay. In fact, I really enjoyed the first hour of it. And already having read a lot of other people's reviews, I was like, wow, everyone is slamming this film. So I went in with very much lowered expectations and found myself pleasantly surprised at not only the direction, but the storyline. And also, being a Lee Kirby fan, not as much of an Ultimates fan, I didn't mind the younger version of the Fantastic Four and the way they were doing stuff. The minute Doom gets introduced, the movie just becomes something like Trank got on a plane, went somewhere, another weird creature came and got involved in making it, and it's horrible. It really is. It's like a completely different movie. The last 10 minutes are laughable, and a completely different film. So we'll get into really spoilers later, but I myself have 3 different sources. 2 from the special effects industry, all also backing up everything that your guys' person said. It's a kind of one of those situations that is a nightmare that a lot of people, especially creatives, get involved in. Now, I made a film about a film that never even got made. It got to the point of almost getting made, and that's with giant, high-powered people, a mega producer, a mega director, several really mega stars, Nick Cage. I mean, really well-known writers. I mean, it was like. And it's funny, I was watching the Fantastic Four film, and you see certain people's names in the credits. You're like, oh, they worked on Superman Lives, because they work in this industry. They've worked on every film since then and before then and even now. And it's one of those things where when you're making a film with a giant studio and $120 million is on the table, that's a lot. It's much different than when you have a $5 million or a $10 million or even a $15 million, let's even say a $30 million film. You're talking 120 plus P&R, advertising, all this. I mean,
lots at stake.
Yeah, so there's a lot of money riding on not just the opening weekend, but worldwide. And how many legs is it going to have per week? What is it going to do on home video, VOD? So there's a lot of money that people are wanting to get back on something. That's when I agree with you. If you hire someone and you're like, hey, this person has a vision to take this property that a lot of people, even those other 2 Fantastic Four movies made some money, they were critically derided and not looked at fondly. So let's go with it in a different direction. Let's hire this other person who's going to put a different spin on it, put a different perspective on it. Don't take it away from them halfway through the movie. Don't second guess them and play mental mind games with them throughout the entire movie. Don't take the special effects guy that you hired who won an Oscar and replace him with someone else and not tell the director himself. Or the special effects guy who's now quit and left the industry. Have a little bit of respect for the people that you hired to actually do the film. Then you might actually have a good film. You're not going to have a cobbled together nightmare mess that you have now with this Fantastic Four film, which now you have, the director himself saying, this isn't my movie. Right. And now you're like, hey, are you going to spend another $5 million to make a special director's cut? Or are you going to deny him that as well?
Well, they'll probably deny it, because the thing is...
it's not going to happen.
Well, no, because the reason why is because now at this point, even though he sent this tweet or whatever too, this is what the studio is able to do. Like, look, I worked in the studio system for a long time. Well, 3 years, I don't know how much a long time, but I still saw a lot of it to where there are scapegoats. And when you have a political system like that, especially a young director who's done one film like this, and I think that he got himself into trouble by getting himself into that house thing. Whatever happened there, he still got himself in trouble there because that's something that they can use if they wanted to. So I think that within all of that, he's going to be the scapegoat here regardless. So I think that that's why, like you said, if more sources are coming out and more people who worked with him on the set, if they can verify that this is indeed the case, then hopefully it does come out.
Yeah, but let me just say this too. More sources are going to come out.
Yeah.
And it's not going to look good for those Fox people who screwed this whole thing up. That's all I could say about it. It's one of those things where people can look fondly back at X-Men Last Stand and be like, oh, that's a mistake. Or X-Men Origins. Or, hey, I saw what happened there. This is like the big granddaddy of the mistakes of what Fox executives can do. And you got to look at it like X-Men Days of Future Past. They did a good job. They let Bryan Singer and Simon Kinberg do what they needed to do.
That's that's the prime example there, is because Bryan Singer had a couple under his belt, did get himself in trouble, but after they started shooting everything too. Right. But then there's even with Matthew Vaughn, who you look at Kingsman,
First Class,
Kingsman and stuff, but Matthew Vaughn had Bryan Singer's backing. Josh Trank really went in there, one movie, same thing as Gavin Hood, went in there, one movie. We can push you around a little bit, kid, and until if he would have hit it there, if he would have hit another movie big and then done Fantastic Four, then he probably would have had a little more clout.
I can only say the last thing about how mind-boggling some of the decisions of what to replace and what to replace it with, or what to take away and what to bring back, or how to make the ending work, as far as cuckoo people who probably never read a comic book in their life think. It's mind-boggling. If you see the Fantastic Four, it's worth seeing. Just to actually see how much of a movie changes, the last 20 minutes, you're like, what am I watching? What is this? So we'll get into it with spoilers, but yeah, it's pretty crazy.
And I want to reemphasize this. We mentioned this at the beginning, but I think I really do want to reemphasize this. I don't think any of us at the table are saying it's not the studio's job just to say, to let filmmakers come to them and have the filmmaker say, I have a vision for a movie, and then it's the studio's job. Okay, fine, and just cut them a $200 million check. No, it's got to be it's got to be the studio's movie. It's their movie. They're paying for. I get it. It's just that once you bring on somebody and you agree on a vision and say, yes, this is the movie you're going to make, then let them make the movie. If you want to tell, Joss Whedon, no, you can't have the Wasp, you have to use Black Widow instead. Tell them that in advance. That's fine. If you want to tell them, look, you have to have Venom in this movie, fine, if you tell them that in advance. But once you set that up, let them do their thing. And I don't think we've heard the last of this.
Oh, no way.
And you know what? Again, I'm not trying to paint Fox as villains here. I think they do a lot of really good things. I have a lot of respect for Fox. They've put out some great stuff. I love what they did with X-Men Days of Future Past.
I love what they're doing with Deadpool.
Apes.
Apes, Deadpool. Yeah, it's
I like what we're seeing from Agent 47 so far. I think it's all great.
Yeah.
But I think this is one bad day. But I think the best thing for the studio at this point, say, hey, yeah, we own it. We dropped the ball on this one, but look at all the other balls we're catching for touchdowns. Because it's true. They're knocking it out of the park in a lot of ways. But once again, I don't think we've heard the end of this. All right, let's move on to the next topic.
Speaking of Fox, the studio is moving full speed ahead with their new Channing Tatum-led film, Gambit. According to reports, the main female character in the new film will be Bella Donna Boudreaux, a mutant once married to Gambit in an arranged Assassin's Guild marriage. The three actresses up for the role are reported to be Blue is the Warmest Color star Leah Seydoux, Mission Impossible Rogue Nation star Rebecca Ferguson, and Abby Lee, who recently appeared in Mad Max Fury Road. Christian, do you like any of these names to play Bella Donna Boudreaux in Gambit?
I like all three of the names, but there's only one that I'm going for, and that's Rebecca Ferguson. She, out of all three, I love all three of them, but out of all three, she fits the bill perfectly. I mean, you've seen Mission Impossible Rogue Nation. There's one particular scene at the very end that they could have given to Tom Cruise, but they gave it to her, and she pulls it off magnificently. She's great. I think we were talking about it during our review of it as well, too, and I said I would not be surprised if she's rumored for a superhero movie soon. There she is. Use her, please. Use her in something. She was in Hercules, forgettable in that one, but that's that whole movie. But this, I want to see her do this role because I think that this is right up her alley.
I think there is only one name on this list, and that's Lisa Seydoux. I think she's the one you go with here. I love Rebecca Ferguson in Mission Impossible Road. I thought she was fantastic, and I totally agree. I can totally see her in some things. But to me, when you watch Blue is the Warmest Color and you see this girl and you think, what? Put her now into something more action-oriented, put her against a Cajun and all that kind of stuff. I actually think she would crush this. I think this is a question of fit, and I think she is the best fit for this. I would love to see her. But they announced Rebecca Ferguson. You ain't going to hear me complaining.
Same with me.
Yeah, the only reason I would agree with Lisa Seydoux, but I just think she's too young because she's supposed to have been in a relationship with Gambit for years before this and been assassins with
Depending
him.
on how they played out
Right.
the movie.
You're right. I mean, I don't know how much deep they're going to get into the nerd sweat. So it depends. Maybe they just met or whatever. But I'd go with Ferguson simply because of the impression she left on me from seeing Mission Impossible. She could pull off those action scenes. She's got a lot of personality. She delivers her lines perfectly. She's a great actress. I don't know how many stunts she did herself, but she kicked ass majorly in that film. I could see her jumping all around with Gambit. Maybe she's going to throw some aces. Who knows? I'd go with her.
All right, folks, we've reached that part of the show now for buy or sell. Here's how this works. In front of her, Sinead's got a few other items in the world of movie news. She's going to run them down. And those of us at the table are simply going to say whether we buy it or sell it. So, Sinead, what do we got?
According to a report on Tracking Board, New Line Cinemas is developing another reboot of the iconic Freddy Krueger film, Nightmare on Elm Street. It's also being reported that Orphan and Walking Dead writer David Leslie Johnson will pen the script for the new project. Elm Street was already rebooted once in 2010 with Jackie Earle Haley playing Freddy, but the film met with horrible critic and fan reviews. Schnepp, do you buy or sell New Line rebooting Nightmare on Elm Street again?
I totally rebuy it. That's a film that I saw. Well, they already rebooted it once. So, that's a film that I saw as a little kid, and it's in the theater, the original Nightmare on Elm Street, and it scared me so much. I had nightmares for weeks and weeks and weeks, and I was lucky enough to have 2 high school gals with me, and I was the one who wanted to leave. I was like, I can't take this. It literally scared me. You watch it now, it's a little clumsy with the special effects, and everyone's, it doesn't work, whatever. It worked at the time when it came out, it scared millions and millions of people. The reboot, not so much. I just think they went the wrong route.
Well, you know why?
Why?
The reason the reboot didn't work, because they had this great original vision. Not a lot of people know that Sinead DeFries starred in the Nightmare on Elm Street reboot, and then this New Line stepped in. They screwed up. They re-edited it. Tell everybody about your big massive role in Nightmare on Elm Street.
Where can people find you in that film?
It was in the beginning of that movie. I played a friend. I didn't wear shoes.
We're not kidding, by the way. She is an extra in the movie.
Did Freddie steal your shoes?
People.
I watched. I first they cut a scene out of the beginning of the movie, and originally, so the first time I did extra work on it, he was supposed to. The guy Dean is supposed to fall through the roof. Freddie kills him in his sleep at his party. He falls asleep at his high school party, and he falls through the roof. And I got to watch this amazing stunt scene. They dropped him basically from a roof, and it was Twilight guy. What's his name? Kellen Lutz.
Kellen Lutz.
His stunt guy comes in and he basically falls and crashes. They could only do it one time. Crashed through all this glass. I was like, this movie's gonna be awesome. They cut that out, and then the rest of the movie was terrible.
So they cut the scene that you're in.
No, I did some more little work, but that was a really good one. So you probably can't even see me.
So
in the
basically,
rest
look
of
for
it.
Schnepp and Ferris Bueller.
Look for the Sinead DeFries cut of
Yes.
That's right.
Nightmare on Elm Street
I want
2010.
at least 5 still frames of Sinead in the background, what's happening?
With no shoes.
Yeah,
And
and
you
you
can
can
find
shoes.
shoeless Sinead. So do I buy this? Yes, I actually do buy it. So I'd like to see them do Nightmare on Elm Street. I'd say, why not get a female Freddy Krueger? What would you call her?
What?
Frida?
Erica Kruger.
Frida Krueger?
Yeah, Frida Krueger.
What do you think?
I'm gonna sell it, and that it could change once because I do like the writer very much. I actually did like Orphan. I thought Orphan. I mean, it could have been for what that reveal was. Could have been extremely silly, and I wound up enjoying it. And I'm not the biggest horror guy, but it just makes you go again. We're gonna try this. It's like the original was the original, and Robert Englund was one of a kind. And one of the reasons I thought that the remake or the reboot failed was that Freddy was funny back in the day,
Right.
And he had personality, and he was just this kind of creepy killer, and it blended in with any other creepy killer. It wasn't Freddy.
Yeah.
So if you can, and it's hard to do that, and because there's another balance. Now, if you try, we're going to give him a little more humor, and then the next thing you got Steve Carell jumping around as Freddy Krueger, then we're in trouble. So as of right now, I'm skeptical. But that's not to say there's not a version out there, like you always say with what's your Freddie the Dancing Microphone or whatever?
Felipe.
Like with the right team, it could work. But right now, I'm going to sell it.
I'm going to sell it, but with an asterisk beside it. Look, Nightmare on Elm Street is a beloved franchise. You can go back to the well in this and revisit it again, but you do got to nail Freddy, and that's one thing they didn't do. Jackie Earle Haley is awesome,
great actor.
but that wasn't Freddy. I mean, they didn't give him a Freddy character to work with. The reason I'm going to sell it is because I think it's too soon. I really think, give it 5 more years.
Spider-Man says, ha ha. Yeah.
Yeah, I know. But honestly, I think for this, give him 5 more years. Wait till 2020 and then revisit the classic again. Right now, it just doesn't feel like the right time for me, even though this is a great property. You do got to revisit at some point. I just don't think now's the time. So for me, just by this much, I'm going to give it a sell.
But by the time that they make this thing, it'll probably be about 2017, 18 now.
Yeah, it might be.
You know what? Also, I mean, if you go back to the well and you watch the original Nightmare on Elm Street, the Freddy Krueger character wasn't that funny. He was truly horrific and a child murderer.
He evolved and became
He evolved,
funny.
and then he actually had a television show, and there were plush Freddy dolls.
Right.
That's too far, and that's when it's not scary. I'd say go all the way back to the original. What is it that's frightening about it? It's a creature, a thing that invades your dreams and turns them into nightmares and can kill you while you're asleep. That's what frightened me as a kid. The idea that if you go to sleep, you're going to die in your dream, which turns into a nightmare. That's real simple. Just make it good. That's all. I just like.
But the problem
it's
is
easy to say. Make it good, writer guy.
The problem is that when that came out, though, everything you're saying is absolutely true. But the problem is when it came out, we had never really seen that before.
Right.
We've seen it now before.
Right.
So in order, you almost kind of have to do the Freddy that evolves because that's the Freddy that we're accustomed to at this point. Because we didn't know who Freddy was, and the reason why he was so terrifying at first was that's the first you ever seen of him.
But
But even that first one, he had a lot of personality.
He did.
He didn't crack as many jokes,
Right.
but he still had that Freddy personality. I felt that was lacking in the 2010s.
I think there's a way to do it. There's definitely a way to bring that kind of horror. That's what I want. I don't want it to be jokey and comedic.
I don't want
it to be
one-liners and him doing, a night at the Improv. I want more of like with the balance between one and two.
Kid walks into a dream.
That's pretty much what he used to do.
What's going on, little
But I love his one-liners. How sweet, fresh meat. Like stuff like that was great. More of that.
All right, let's move on. What's next?
A brand new full-length trailer for the upcoming Vin Diesel film, The Last Witch Hunter, has just hit the web. The modern world holds many secrets, but the most astounding secret of all is that witches still live amongst us. Vicious supernatural creatures intent on unleashing the Black Death upon the world. Armies of witch hunters battled the unnatural enemy across the globe for centuries, including Calder, played by Diesel, a valiant warrior who managed to slay the all-powerful Queen Witch, decimating her followers in the process. In the moments right before her death, the Queen curses Calder with her own immortality, forever separating him from his beloved wife and daughter in the afterlife. Today, Calder is the only one of his kind remaining and has spent centuries hunting down rogue witches, all the while yearning for his long-lost loved ones. However, unbeknownst to Calder, the Queen Witch is resurrected and seeks revenge on her killer, causing an epic battle that will determine the survival of the human race. John, do you buy or sell the new trailer for The Last Witch Hunter?
I surprisingly buy it because when I first heard about this project, I'm like, really? But look, I can tell you, I kind of like the first trailer that came out, and I really like the second trailer that came out. Is that Elijah Wood?
Yeah.
And
Yes.
here's the thing. All I could think about, though, in watching that trailer with Elijah Wood as the priest was the fake trailer from Tropic Thunder. What was that? What was the fake one
with
called?
Robert Downey Jr.
Yeah, it was like
and-
Forbidden Touch or
and they had that
something.
like Raja like the candles like shall we meet again?
Their hands touch and the tear and that's all I can think about. Although I think he'll probably crush it in this. So hey, look, dumb is as dumb does. It'd probably be dumb, but it looked like fun to me, and surprisingly, I'm looking forward to it. So for me, it's a buy.
I buy the trailer because it looks like a fun, guilty movie pleasure. I sell his beard. Man, do I sell that beard. That beard is horrendous. Looks like birds are growing in it.
It looks
But
like from a dwarf from Lord of the Rings or something with that beard.
It doesn't. Yeah, it doesn't. The beard's silly, but it's one of these movies that could hit big in the same fun, silly way that Fast and the Furious does. Another franchise that he's involved with, and it could become a franchise. It really could. It's got the potential for sure. It also has the potential to be a steaming turd because it could be if it is fun. And you're like, look, I'm having so much fun. Is that ridiculous? Sure, it's ridiculous. But yeah, he's killing witches, and I'm on board. If it's fun, it'll work. But if it's painful to get through, which it very well could be. But for now, because he's done this and he's been around the production as to how to make these things fun and still silly, I'll buy the trailer.
Schnepp?
You know, when I was in camp, I think I was in 6th grade or something. The very last day of camp, I stupidly was like pushing down nails that were in a big board. Like nails that were sticking up with my sneakers, like pushing them down. Waiting for the bus to go home from camp, and shunk, the nail went into my foot. And that's what it felt like watching this trailer.
Wow.
I sell this trailer so hard. I felt like I was watching The Mummy Part 3 or Van Helsing or some other crap fest CG thing with stuff floating. And look, I'll jump through a thing that's not really there and it'll explode. Yawn. Bored out of my butt. I couldn't stand the trailer. The only thing I did like was him with the beard. I thought, hey, at least it would be like Seventh Son. We get some Diesel action in the past, and he's fighting a bunch of dumb monsters. No, instead it's these repetitive, stupid, underworld style, dumb Michael Caine, don't you have enough money? Why'd you have to take this role? Kind of crappy. It's against you and the dead ones, or whatever the crappy lines that are speckled through this trashy trailer. I hated it.
I don't disagree with any of that. I think that it could be.
I liked it.
I think it could be that. I really do. I don't disagree with anything you said, but that it could go down that road.
Diesel
but I also,
should make fucking Krull 2. Excuse my language.
But I could also see you coming out of this movie. I could also see you coming out of this movie, though, going, wow, that was a lot more fun than I thought it was.
I want to enjoy it. I just hated the trailer.
All right, what's next?
Real quick, that was the first thing I watched before I even got out of bed, and I was really angry that I started my day that way. So thanks, John. All right, as many of you know, Warner Brothers and director Steven Spielberg have been gearing up to adapt the popular novel Ready Player One into a feature film. Yesterday, the studio officially announced that the film will hit theaters on December 15th, 2017. The book is described like this. In the year 2044, reality is an ugly place. The only time teenage Wade Watts really feels alive is when he's jacked into the virtual utopia known as the Oasis. Wade's devoted his life to studying the puzzles hidden within this world's digital confines, puzzles that are based on their creators' obsession with the pop culture of decades past and that promise massive power and fortune to whoever can unlock them. But when Wade stumbles upon the first clue, he finds himself beset by players willing to kill to take this ultimate prize. The race is on, and if Wade's going to survive, he'll have to win and confront the real world he's always been so desperate to escape. Kristian, do you buy or sell Ready Player One and a Christmas season release?
Big buy, because I think that Warner Bros. Is getting ahead of the curve here, and they're looking, because once Star Wars comes out this December, all the studios are going to start because it's going to break records in December. You're going to have the first, for sure, $100 million opening in December, and then the studios are going to go, oh, wait a minute, because you've got all these Marvel and DC movies crowding the summer season. The December season, that's when all the huge movies, there's only, Hobbit and certain movies have lived there in December, but this movie should live in the summer, Ready Player One. But we're changing, and I think that they're seeing that. Rogue One comes out next December, so when this movie comes out in 2017, I think that that season will be set. I think the December season is going to start becoming the next summer season. Really smart. I'd love to see it then. I don't want to see it get overcrowded, and it has more chance to live from December into January, so smart.
I completely agree with you. I believe that December is going to become the next summer season, because the summer, look, with more and more movies being produced every single year, that summer season is getting really crowded. And I think studios are looking for another ripe ground to release films in. And you're right. Once Star Wars crosses that $100 million mark in December, which has never happened before, once that happens, the studios even more are going to turn their eyes to those months as a good ripe ground to plop these big films. I think they're going to do it. Ready Player One is one of these books I've never read, and I've got this one buddy of mine who has just been telling me for about a year and a half now, you got to read Ready Player One. So much so that I've got it in my queue now in my Audible, and it's just like the 2 or 3 down the line in my queue that I'm getting ready to read. But now the movie's coming out, so I've got a rule. I won't read a book if the movie's coming out, because I don't want my experience of the movie to be tainted by the book, so I'm not going to read it now. But it's being directed by Steven Spielberg, greatest filmmaker of all time. Of course you got to buy it, and you're right. This is a good season for it in December, so for me it's a buy.
Yeah, it's a buy for me, too. I'm really excited that I know it was announced a while back, but now they've actually planted a date when it's coming out. I myself also haven't read the book, but I got it through Loot Crate after hearing about it for a million years. Then they just gave you the books. Now I have it sitting there I'm going to read that. Now I will read it just because I've heard so many good things about it. And I believe it's written by the same guy who wrote Fanboys. Isn't that right?
No, I don't know.
Ernest Cline. So I love the idea of what the book is. So I'm interested to read the book. And I can't wait to see what Spielberg, how he adapts it, how he takes this Avatar-filled world and populates it. What's he going to, what are we going to see is really what I'm looking forward to. So I buy it.
All right, what's next?
All right, well, I know we've got a bunch of bronies at the table, but you guys will still be thrilled to hear that Lionsgate and Hasbro are teaming up to bring a feature-length My Little Pony movie to the big screen. Megan McCarthy, fan favorite writer and producer for My Little Pony animated series, is developing the script, which will be produced by Hasbro's Allspark Pictures. Schnepp, do you buy or sell a My Little Pony movie?
Happiness is magic.
Or what is it? What is
Friendship is
Friendship is magic.
I guess I'll buy it for all the bronies. And all the ponies, and all the phonies, and all the my little balonies and jabronis.
Jabronis.
Yeah, My Little Jabroni. They should get The Rock to be that
love
character.
that.
Hey, I'm Jabroni. Or, you know.
That was a terrible Rock.
I know. That was, who was I there?
That wasn't anybody.
Hello there. My name is Jabroni.
More like Hulk Hogan.
Yeah, it's a really horrible accent. Anyway, I buy it for all the bronies.
You got to buy this. This is a good move. My Little Ponies is a very recognized property. There are generations of young people who grew up, I'm not just going to say little girls, clearly, who grew up playing with these things, know them, recognize them. The cartoon is a big hit. There is a whole movement called bronies of men, grown men, who really love My Little Ponies. I ain't here to judge. I'm not here to judge. I like Armageddon, so who am I to judge? So this just makes good sense. This is a property you should develop. It may not be for me, it may not be for anybody else at this table, but this is a movie that's going to do good
Mark
business.
Ellis, I heard, is a big
Mark
brony.
Ellis is a huge
Mark,
brony.
you're in the room here. You're
Huge
a brony,
brony.
right?
Yay!
Hey!
Christian, what about you?
I buy it for sure. It makes sense. It makes a lot more sense than a Pez movie. I'll tell you that. But the movie itself, when you have an audience that is as hardcore as the bronies, as the My Little Pony fans, I'm surprised it hasn't been made already.
Right.
A long time ago. It has this kind of big following. There are conventions around it, so there should absolutely be a movie.
You know, Dennis and I, we were at our
convention?
studio.
I was going to say that too.
We were at our studio, and who's John Delancey, the guy who plays Q on the Star Trek movies, right?
Sure,
he was hanging out in our office with me and Dennis. We were talking. It's like, oh, what you been doing? He's like, oh, I just finished doing the narration for a brony documentary. Where there's a documentary on bronies that he does. He goes, I never even heard of bronies before this, but I did the documentary. Like, just crazy. Actually, Sinead, I'm curious because you have a sister. Do you have more than one sister? I think you just have the one sister.
No, just one sister, one brother.
Did either of you guys grow up playing with My Little Ponies or knowing it at all? Or is it? See, it's not as widespread.
I'm pretty sure it's an American thing, though, right? I don't know.
It was in Canada too.
My
I know
daughter
my
loves
sisters. My sisters played with
But
it a lot.
I used to babysit a lot, and I remember going over to houses, and every single house I went to had all the little ones, and they're all different colors and stuff like that. But I was telling you guys, my roommate before this,
Those were actually narcotics.
my roommate before this, he's a grown adult. He's in his 30s, and I kid you not, he's got hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of My Little Ponies, and they're in these bins, and he keeps them in his closet, and he takes them all out, and he
Combs their
literally
hair, or what is
he literally will take them out and look at them, and he keeps this collection. He's very serious about his My Little Pony collection.
The movement is real, ladies and
Do
gentlemen.
they have butt tattoos, or are those like henna
They
tattoos?
do. They're not butt. They're kind of on
Upper
your hip.
thigh.
On your
Upper thigh.
hip. They're classy.
Okay.
They're classy. Not like, My Little Pony tramp stamps.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. All right, folks, listen. We reached that part of the show for a game we play every week here on Fridays called Box Office Prediction, brought to you by our friends at AMC Theaters. It's a simple game. Those of us at the table, we are going to try to predict the top 5 spots in order that the box office will hold come Monday morning. Just wanted to point out that last week, one guy at this table got them all 5 for 5.
Thank you. Oh.
And,
Where's that soundbite? Ray's soundbite.
Yeah, good for you. All right, so we're going to see. I will not repeat this week. So, Schnepp, let's start with you. Which order you want to go? You want to start at 1? You want to start at 5?
I'm going to go number 1. I'm going to say Fantastic Four is going to come in at number 1. I'm going to say it's going to come in at a little over 40 grand or 40 million.
40 grand.
40 grand.
You're going to see a lot more tweets come out.
$400.
Now, you don't have to give a number value. You don't have to
Okay.
give a dollar value. But
All
you
right.
can if you want.
I'll say Fantastic Four number 1, Mission Impossible number 2. I will go with Ant-Man number 3, Shaun of the Sheep number 4, and Ricky and the Flash number 5.
All right, I'm going to go a little bit different from you.
I'm sorry. Wait, let me take out Ricky and the Flash because it's not just movies that are opening; it's movies that are still playing.
Yeah, well, what's
so
gonna
I'm
be
going to
top
say
5?
number 5 will be Minions.
Okay, I'm going to go a little bit different from you. I'm going to say number one will be Fantastic Four. I think it will, despite everything that's going on, I think it's going to come number one at the box office. Number two will be Mission Impossible Rogue Nation. We'll have a strong second weekend. Number three will be Shaun the Sheep. Will come in number three. Do not underestimate a kids movie being out there right now. And Minions is already in its like fourth week, so the families probably look for something new to go to. At number four, I think will be Ricky and the Flash. And at number five, overtaking Vacation, I believe will be Ant-Man will come in at number five, and Vacation will be dumped out. So Fantastic Four, Mission Impossible Rogue Nation, Shaun the Sheep, Ricky and the Flash, Ant-Man.
All right. Okay, I got Fantastic Four. We're all in agreement on that at number one. Number two, I have Mission Impossible as well. Number three, I actually have The Gift. I think The Gift is going to do better than people think. I think that'll probably be number three. Four, I have Shaun of the Sheep, if Ashley was there. Shaun the Sheep. And then I was going to put Ricky and the Flash at five, but I'm going to take that out and put Ant-Man. So I have Fantastic Four, Mission Impossible, The Gift, Shaun the Sheep, and then Ant-Man.
All right, there you go. Those are our predictions, and we've gone overtime, so that'll be it for this installment of Collider Movie Talk. Guys, thank you so much for joining us. Listen, don't forget, lots of great films playing at AMC Theaters right now. Head on over to www.amctheaters.com for all of your theater, showtime, and, of course, your movie ticket information. If you want an audio-only edition of this episode, just look on your favorite podcast app for Collider Video, and you will find our podcasts on there. And don't forget, most importantly, subscribe to this YouTube channel. Keep up to date with all the videos we've got going on here on Collider Video, including a little bit later today, we've got a special spoilers review of Fantastic Four. I want to thank the people sitting at the table with me. First of all, sitting over here, Mr. Jon Schnepp. Schnepp, where can people find you online?
You guys are going to find me at Twitter and Instagram at Jon Schnepp and at TDOSLWH. You're also going to find me in Australia. Doof Warrior, son. I'm going to be there all next week. Come see me in Sydney at the Hayden Orpheum. We're screening my film, The Death of Superman Lives, What Happened. You can come meet me. We're going to bring a bunch of posters and Blu-rays and DVDs. We'll be there all week. We're going to go to a bunch of comic book stores and basically sweat it out in Sydney. And you can find out more about it by going to www.tdoslwh.com. I'll see all you Aussies later.
And sitting over here, Mr. Kristian Harloff. Kristian, where can people find you?
Well, you can find me on Twitter at Kristian Harloff, Instagram the same, and then every Thursday doing Collider Jedi Council with John Campea and Mark Ellis. Make sure if you didn't watch yesterday's episode, it's up right now. It's really fun. We talked about, is Kylo Ren going to be a Sith Lord in the new movie? Go check that out and submit your questions, Collider Jedi Council.
And, of course, our lovely host today, star of the 2010 Nightmare on Elm Street, Miss Sinead DeFries. Sinead, where can people find you online?
I'm on Twitter and Instagram at Sinead DeFries and at that'sosinead.com.
And you can find me on all the various social media networks on Facebook or on Twitter, simply at John Brony. That'll do it for us, guys. Thank you so much for joining us in today's episode. So for Collider Video, until next time, bye-bye.
Happiness is magic.
Friendship.